So some of you may have read the book, A Walk in the Woods. Have any of you read it? Okay, so he walks parts of the trail. My mom set out to hike the entire trail. So you can see it starts down at Springer Mountain, Georgia, and 2,100 miles north. It ends up at Mount Katahdin in Maine. So on March 23rd, 2009, this is my mom, and actually I want you to take note because she looks a little different when I meet up with her. This is her taking off on March 23rd, 2009, up to the approach on Springer Mountain. The good news is my dad took her out there and dropped her off and hiked up to the top of the mountain, but he did not have that burning desire to hike 2,100 miles for 6 months. So he hiked her up and then hiked back down. Somebody had to bring the car home. So, and he had other very important jobs. He sent supplies along the way. There were a lot of drop points for, food, fuel, all that wonderful stuff. Sending back and forth cards. So for several months, all we got were little GPS coordinates that she would send via satellite. So every night we'd get a coordinate of where she was at. She started in March, and fortunately I did not join her until July, so I missed out on wonderful snowstorms. You can see the trail there. I believe this was North Carolina, or close to North Carolina. She's here. I will introduce her at the end. So in July, I got to meet her, so you'll notice I almost didn't recognize her at first. Her glasses were gone, and she was a lot thinner. And her hair was a lot longer, you can't tell there. But I met up with her in July, actually right before I moved up here to Bemidji, and then headed out for my week on the trail. There I am, naively going up for what I thought was going to be the toughest part of my hike. It was a big climb, and then I thought it would be fairly easy from there, but you'll see me, actually, I arrived a day late, so when you're trying to fly in and meet a moving target, and then you miss a connecting flight, it makes it hard to meet up, but I did. And so there I am, naively thinking the worst part of my hike for that day was over with, but you'll notice in just a minute I was quite wrong. So actually, it's this next part, you'll see that Pennsylvania is nicknamed by the thru hikers as Rocksylvania because you come across a lot of boulder fields, and actually this one was a vertical boulder field that we had to climb up. And I tell you what, it was actually this boulder field that I thought, I'm not even going to survive my first day on the trail. But then I'm again naively holding up my hiking pole saying I made it to the top. So I thought I would actually survive my first day. We still had several more miles to go. But eventually we made it to the shelter. We were able to get more water and actually get some nice warm food in us. So there we are the next morning, all well rested, ready to go on day 2. And we were joined up. Everyone has a trail name. So me showing up a day late, my trail name was Time Traveler. My mom there is Journey, and you will see where her name comes from. And then that's George, and you can just see off to the side Gracie the dog. The next, I think it was 2 days, it actually rained on the trail. So this actually is a really nice trail compared to what you saw before. This is like a freeway for the Appalachian Trail. The problem is you come across, little roadblocks here that you have to go around. But actually that was pretty nice. And then we came upon what are called Wolf Rocks. And there I am after my first fall on the Appalachian Trail. Fortunately, I did not break any bones. But what you can't tell is on the other side of that cliff of rocks, it's literally a cliff. And you had to scramble across the top and eventually make your way safely down the backside. And there we are celebrating. We made it to the next shelter. We got warm clothes on, got some warm food, got our tent set up, got everything dried out. And then we discussed going into the town the next day and where we were going to stay because we decided after this day, we deserved a bed. So, and we also deserved a rest day. So we decided to check into a hotel in what Actually, what I don't have on here is at one point we had our tents laid out, drying out. We got to wash our clothes that were completely soaked and get some, not just some hot meals, but getting a cold beverage is actually quite a treat. And then the next day we headed out and we were going to cross the border from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. And parts of the Appalachian Trail are quite urbanized, I guess you would say here. So this is actually where we're crossing the river to get over into New Jersey. So we're crossing right next to the freeway. And then this is actually our last day. We came up on a nice scenic overlook. So it was kind of bittersweet there that my time had already come to an end. So it was on my last day that we stopped here and took some pictures. But I guess I felt better knowing that I was leaving her for the next several months in good hands. So George and Gracie would be hiking with her most of the rest of the way. So we had one last night, and then I would be flying out again the next day. So this is us where we parted ways. Fortunately, I have a good friend who lives in Pennsylvania, and I got them to come pick me up and bring me back to the airport. But you can see the two signs there. So she had already hiked 1,277 miles and about 800 more to go. And that's where I headed back and moved up to Bemidji. And she came back after what she calls her Forrest Gump moment in New Hampshire, and came home on Labor Day of that year, so in the early September. And this has been her motto, and her trail name is Journey. And this is what kept her going. And I learned during my week on the trail with my mom that the journey really is the destination.